Stoicism teaches you how to live well. Stoicism is an ancient Greek school of thought that emphasizes self-control and resilience to overcome negative emotions. It's not just about enduring tough times, though. Stoicism also teaches us how to transform our approach to life and how we respond to challenges. At its core, Stoicism is a set of lessons that revolve around one simple yet profound idea: that our happiness hinges more on our character than on anything external. Imagine Stoicism as a toolkit for the soul. Its designer was a Greek thinker called Epictetus. He was born into slavery in the ancient city of Nicopolis in today's Turkey in the 1st century CE. After obtaining his freedom around the age of 18, Epictetus became a respected teacher, describing the philosopher's role as similar to that of a physician, a healer of the soul. His teachings, preserved by his students, argue that a philosopher's school is essentially a hospital for our inner selves, where mental and emotional health are nurtured. Stoicism teaches that caring for our souls is crucial. This echoes the beliefs of an earlier philosopher, Socrates, who taught that the condition of our soul profoundly affects our life's quality. Socrates, and later the Stoics, believed that real wealth comes from a virtuous character, not material possessions. Wealth is neutral, it's neither good nor bad, and reflects the character of its holder. A virtuous person might use wealth to do good, while someone less virtuous could cause harm with it. Moral value, in other words, resides within us, not in the things we own or our social status. Epictetus warned against focusing too much on wealth and status at the expense of moral growth. He encouraged shifting our attention from external achievements to internal development. Stoics introduced the concept of indifference, things like wealth, health, and reputation that should not determine our core happiness or moral integrity. They made a clear distinction between preferred indifference and true goods, which are attributes of a virtuous character, the only real good. Stoicism suggests that chasing money or fame for their own sake is misguided. Instead, it champions aligning personal desires with ethical and moral values, ensuring our actions reflect a virtuous character. Stoics aim to live in harmony with their nature and with the external world. To cultivate a virtuous character, Stoicism promotes the development of the cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. These virtues define what it means to live well as a human being. Focusing on these qualities allows individuals to not only lead good lives themselves, but also to positively impact their communities. So, what does that look like in practice? That's what we'll be exploring next. Focusing on what you can control brings peace of mind. What aspects of your life can you truly control? This question is central to Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to distinguish between what is and isn't within our control, thus directing us toward genuine self-improvement. According to Stoic principles, most of what preoccupies our daily concerns, health, accidents, relationships, and success, are largely beyond our direct control. Epictetus gave us a clear framework for understanding control. According to him, our judgments, impulses, and desires are all within our control. He contrasted these aspects of our lives with external factors like our bodies, possessions, and reputation, which are beyond our control. For Epictetus, much of our unhappiness stems from confusing these two categories, believing we can control what is inherently uncontrollable. Epictetus clarified that control doesn't extend to all internal experiences. We don't choose our sensations or emotions, but we do have complete control over our judgments, the evaluations we make about the events in our lives. These judgments are critical because they shape our desires and actions. For example, seeing something we perceive as desirable, like a dream career or luxury car, triggers a judgment that it's good. which then fuels our pursuit of it. This process underscores the importance of being mindful of how swiftly and unconsciously we often make judgments. Epictetus, in short, encouraged us to reflect on our judgments. Marcus Aurelius, a later student of Stoic philosophy, practiced this by reminding himself of the mundane reality behind seemingly desirable objects. A fine meal is just a dead fish, and today, an expensive car is just metal and plastic. This practice helps strip away the false value attributed to objects by our judgments, reinforcing that nothing external possesses inherent goodness. Put differently, mastering our judgments allows us to control our desires and actions, placing true happiness firmly within our grasp. This control isn't about influencing external outcomes, which are unpredictable, but about focusing on our responses and behaviors. Stoicism compares life to archery. While we can aim and shoot to the best of our abilities, factors like the wind can still divert the arrow. Similarly, a doctor can provide the best care, but some outcomes remain beyond their control. Ultimately, basing our happiness on achieving specific outcomes sets us up for disappointment. However, if our goal is simply to do the best we can under the circumstances, then nothing can impede our peace of mind. By understanding and applying these Stoic principles, we can transform our approach to life, leading to a profound sense of empowerment and serenity. Anger is a temporary madness, but it passes. As we've seen, Stoicism teaches us that understanding the difference between what we can and can't control is key to personal growth and resilience. This idea is especially useful when dealing with intense emotions like anger and jealousy. Stoics accepted that being mildly annoyed occasionally is a part of life and relatively harmless. But what about the overwhelming rage that causes one to act violently? Seneca, a prominent 1st century CE Stoic philosopher in the Roman Empire, described emotions such as anger as a form of temporary madness, an uncontrollable force that overwhelms reason and leads to destructive behavior. He used vivid imagery to liken anger to being thrown from a building, hurtling uncontrollably toward disaster. Seneca argued against the necessity of anger, even in situations where we or our loved ones are wronged. He believed that responses should be guided by virtues such as loyalty, duty, or justice, rather than by an impulsive need for revenge. Even when anger appears to motivate actions against injustices, Seneca suggested that it's preferable to act under the influence of courage and justice instead. At the core of Stoicism is the belief that emotions stem from our judgments, interpretations made by our minds. This implies that while we may not control the initial emotional reaction, so-called first movements like shock or nervousness, we do have control over our subsequent judgments that turn these reactions into full-fledged emotions like fear or anger. Seneca also argued that once an emotion is formed, it manifests physically. Think of increased heart rate, sweating, and so on, and must simply run its course. But Stoics urge us to focus on the earlier stage, the judgment, because this is where we have control. By managing our judgments about what constitutes an injury or offense, we can prevent the escalation of these first movements into more destructive emotions. Furthermore, Seneca stressed the importance of not reacting impulsively. He advised his students to take a moment to reflect on the situation. If criticism is valid, it offers an opportunity for improvement. If not, it harms only the critic, not the target. By maintaining this perspective, we protect ourselves from unnecessary emotional turmoil. In summary then, Stoicism teaches that while immediate physical reactions to experiences are inevitable, the emotions that follow are within our control. By focusing on our judgments and maintaining a reflective mindset, we can avoid the pitfalls of destructive emotions and cultivate a life of reason and resilience. This approach allows us to maintain meaningful relationships and manage our emotional lives effectively, promoting overall well-being without succumbing to the volatility of unchecked feelings. Time is your most valuable possession. How often do you contemplate the finite nature of your existence? For many, it takes a brush with death or a life-altering event to fully appreciate the preciousness of time. Stoicism, particularly as explored by Seneca, offers profound insights into living with awareness of our mortality. Seneca reflected deeply on the transient nature of life, aware that any day could be his last due to health or the whims of an ill-tempered emperor. From this perspective, he considered time to be our most valuable resource, and one that we often squander. In his essay, On the Shortness of Life, Seneca observes that while we all have more than enough time, regardless of our lifespan, the true issue lies in our misuse of it. Many of us procrastinate, chase meaningless goals, or drift through life without direction. Some pursue wealth and success, acquiring luxuries that ultimately find their way into the trash, while others live in a routine haze, barely noticing as time slips away. There are those who know what they want, but allow fear of failure to delay their actions. According to Seneca, all these behaviors lead to a failure to truly live. Seneca argues that most people only feel truly alive in rare moments, with the bulk of life reduced to just passing time. His remedy? Live each day with the awareness that it could be your last. This doesn't mean living in fear of death, but embracing the possibility as a way to appreciate and fully engage with each moment. He advised against worrying about others' opinions or seeking their approval. Instead, focus on your own thoughts and desires. It's absurd, he noted, to guard material possessions while carelessly giving away something far more precious: your time. For Seneca, the pursuit of conventional success, wealth, fame, and honors, was ultimately unsatisfying. Those who achieve these goals often find themselves deprived of the very thing they need the most: time for themselves. He suggested instead that learning to live well was a lifelong task, and that the wise have historically foregone the pursuit of pleasure and wealth to focus on this endeavor. By embracing this Stoic wisdom, we can learn to stop hustling through life, longing for the future, or dreading the present. Organizing our days as if each were our last allows us to live fully, without fear or procrastination, making the most of the time we have. Self-improvement allows you to help others. Stoicism often seems focused solely on the individual, emphasizing self-improvement and personal well-being. It may appear to advocate for withdrawal from the world into one's own thoughts and judgments, but this interpretation misses the broader, more inclusive vision of Stoic philosophy, which firmly situated the individual within the context of larger communities. Stoicism doesn't promote isolation or selfishness. Instead, it teaches that individuals aren't solitary beings. They're inherently part of various communities, from immediate family units to the global human populace. The Stoic inward turn is meant to cultivate virtuous character traits and eliminate harmful emotions like anger, thus preparing us to engage more effectively with the world we're part of. Living a good life, according to Stoic principles, involves fulfilling the roles and responsibilities inherent in our social positions, whether as a family member, a professional, or a citizen. This extends to the concept of cosmopolitanism, which suggests that every person has a duty of care to all humanity. The Stoics envisioned each person at the center of expanding circles of concern, starting with oneself and extending outward to include the entire human race. The idea of a global community is central to Stoic ethics. Marcus Aurelius, while considering his duties as a Roman citizen, also pondered his responsibilities to the broader community of humankind. He likened humanity to branches of a single tree, suggesting that severing ties with others is akin to cutting off a branch from the tree. Such separation not only harms the community, but goes against our nature as social animals. Stoicism, therefore, calls for a balance between attending to personal virtues and actively participating in social roles. It encourages us to recognize our interconnectedness with others and to act in ways that support and enhance communal life. By cultivating rationality and virtue, we see ourselves as part of a global community, responsible for contributing positively to the collective well-being. In essence, Stoicism doesn't advocate retreating from the world at all. In fact, it promotes a deep engagement with it, encouraging individuals to improve themselves to better serve their communities. By embracing our roles within these various circles of influence, from local to global, we not only fulfill our duties as rational and social beings, but also work toward a more harmonious and interconnected existence. This Stoic approach not only enriches our own lives, but also strengthens the fabric of society at large. The main takeaway of this book is that Stoicism teaches us to master our emotions, focusing on what truly can be controlled, our judgments and actions, not external outcomes. It highlights the importance of developing virtue over pursuing wealth or status. It also emphasizes our social nature, urging us to fulfill roles responsibly within wider communities and to cultivate characteristics such as wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Ultimately, Stoicism provides us with the tools needed for personal development, resilience, and a deeply fulfilling life.